Hello everyone over on YouTube, welcome. We haven't done content like this in a while, but today we're going to be doing a tier list maker for new standard format for Chilling Reign. I have some special guests with me here today, but before I go ahead and introduce them, if you guys are not subscribed already, subscribe. If you guys want to see this stuff live, check us out, twitch.tv/HegsterTCG. Let's go ahead and get into this here. I've got two awesome players. It's everyone's favorite Eternus main. We've got Jake Nagy. Say hi.
Hi.
And then from California, Pikaram Master, it's Gabriel Smart. Welcome, Gabe. All right, welcome, Gabe.
Yeah.
Oh, he was totally blanking. We did the whole intro for him, and he was not.
Oh, you're
here.
good.
Yeah.
Hi. Do you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you now. No,
Hello. Yes.
Hi, everyone. Good, but we're gonna be ranking.
Oh man, we already ruined it.
We already ruined. No, we're gonna go with it. Anyhow, we're gonna be going with all these decks here. We're gonna be organizing them, so you guys have a good understanding of what we think is going to be good and not. Jake is actually subbing with Prime. Thanks, you, Jake.
I did.
Appreciate that. And yeah, here we go. We're just gonna go ahead and get into things. Let's go ahead and just start left to right and go with it, I think, is probably the best idea. So, first deck here we've got for everyone. So, just a quick outline. Tier 1 is the best tier. We think these are going to be the top 2 to top 3 decks in the format. 1.5 is going to be your solid placing decks. These can consistently get top 8s at events. Tier 2 is your borderline. You're starting to get a little bit rogue. So, these are decks that maybe snatch an occasional top 8 or a win at events. They're not very consistent finishers, but can sneak their way into events. And then tier 3 is pretty poor, maybe top 16 at smaller events. And then lower bad is, please do not touch these decks if you want to do well. There's no excuse for yourself. All right, and speaking of which, let's go ahead and start out. We got Tyranitar V as our first deck. I think right off the bat, we're looking at maybe tier 3 or 2, but it just feels like a worse version of Single Strike just because you're limiting your options of playability with just playing Tyranitar in your deck.
Yeah, I know. It just seems like a worse. I'm Single Strike in every single way. I mean, maybe your Dragapult matchup is better. Maybe your Shadow Rider matchup, but like other than that, it's just it's just bad. It's bad.
I'm leaning towards maybe like Jake. I want to know your thoughts about like maybe putting in tier 3 just because with how popular Shadow Rider could be, it could just have a nice matchup against them if you hit good matchup spread, I guess.
It's less consistent dark deck.
That's true. I do think it's less consistent. So if no one's opposed in chat, correct me if we make a completely horrible take. Blastoise is here but not Lapras. Yeah, I don't know, bro. I'm gonna put in tier 3 for now. Any objectives so far? None?
No,
okay.
I think.
Cool. Next up, we have the new Lycanroc. It does
No.
I think 80 damage plus. Is it 20 more chat or is it 10 more for every Pokemon? It has to be Single Strike Pokemon too, right? In your discard pile.
It does 10 damage more. It's pretty bad just because everything has 270 or more HP in this meta, and it's also inconsistent. I mean, it's probably okay, but I feel like you're gonna fall way too far behind.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's honestly fair. Yeah, I think it's lower bad. I don't think it has much potential, to be honest. In this
I think it's bad, yeah. Like, it's a cool card, but it's just, the concept's like 2 or 3 years old.
Let's go. Oh, this next deck needs a tier for under low potential or bad.
Do you really hate Luke Metal? Do you have any Luke Metal lovers in chat? So Luke Metal, I would say before this, it's probably sitting at around 1.5, I think, but I feel this deck is tier 2. I think this deck gets really hurt by Path to Peak. I still think it can win matchups out against Vmax decks by just maybe running them out of resources and stuff, but I think Path really hurts this deck. So I think we'll order these tiers eventually, but I think it's low tier 2, maybe high tier 3, if that makes sense.
It definitely needs under low potential or bad.
For Luke Metal?
I think bottom of tier 2 is probably what I think. I think Path obviously hurts it a lot, but I don't think it's going to be like at the same level as your tier 3 decks. It can still steal games with Full Metal Wall. It can still utilize Zacian. So I think like there's this motion that any deck with an ability on it dies to Path. And I don't think that's 100% true necessarily. So that's
it doesn't. The problem with it though is decks are getting more flexible, and Path is a thing, of course. But if decks are more flexible, Luke Metal is usually losing.
Okay, that sounds pretty good to me. Any objectives or objections rather, Gabe?
No, I think the deck is still going to be tier 2. There might be a point where it can maybe creep up to tier 1.5 for like a week or something, and then it'll just get pushed back down. I mean, Luke Battle's kind of been teetering around that like 1.5 to tier 2 for the past couple months. So yeah, I think tier 2 is safe to put it for now.
Wait, not to mention that it runs on a hop engine.
Yeah.
True. It does play a hop engine. Sorry, any Cynthia and Caitlin enthusiasts. It does run on a hop engine. But, all right. That makes sense here. Single Strike Urshifu. We've seen this deck not really have a lot of success in this format. I'd say right now it's probably sitting around low 2, high 3. Do you think anything comes out that helps it out more in this?
It's better than Luke Metal.
What do we think? What do we think? Just higher than in tier 2 somewhere, a little bit higher?
I mean, Shadow Rider with Path just one-shots it, and it turns out Jirachi, right? So I feel like it's even worse. I feel like it's
playing Kitar and stuff, right? Or it's playing. It has Dark Attackers. It also has like. I don't know what Survivor does. I just hear people talking about it.
I think it's probably tier 2.
On here. I would say it's low. I would say it's low 2, but it's above Luke Metal for now.
It's inconsistent. Yeah, it's just a brown Malamar deck. And like if you set up, you're gonna beat everything. The deck doesn't do it.
Brown Malamar. That is a very true statement. All right, next up, we've got ourselves the, I would say, popular version of Urshifu right now before any new cards. And that's Jirachi Urshifu. So I'd say this deck is sitting around 1.5. I feel like right now.
1 or 1.5.
I would say this deck is. I think this deck is still really good, but I think the Inteleon version may be better in my opinion. I think Inteleon does for this deck what this deck can't, which is it has an answer to Mew by just pinging Mew and setting the math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
these are both the same deck. I would put this one in 1.5, and I would put this one lower in 1.5. To be honest.
What is that water type? I can't see it.
It's the Inteleon that has Decidueye GX's ability.
Oh yes. Yeah.
That Urshifu like loses to Mew because a lot of the times it doesn't affect your prize trade at all because you can hit a 3-prizer and then hit boss kill Mew and then just boss a 1 or not a 1-prizer or a 2 or Dead Air Crobat and then just kill it with rapid flow.
Yeah, I still like the Inteleon version better. I think it just can provide more pivot. I don't know. I think both these are close, which is probably I'll probably put them very close to each other because I feel their matchup spread will be very similar if that makes more sense. So I would say
I feel like the Inteleon version is gonna be like super inconsistent, especially like in a best of 1 format, or we're like decks like E-Turn, ADP Pikaram, like Firebox, like I'm super like they're probably all more consistent. So I really don't think Inteleon's that good.
Inteleon's definitely worse than the Jirachi version.
I think they're both 1.5. Can we at least agree that both of them are 1.5? I think both of them are 1.5.
I would put Inteleon in tier 2.
I'm thinking if the other one is tier 1.
I'm not sure.
I don't think Rapid Strike is that. I
think it loses to Cali in that. I think we can only put decks in tier 1 when we know they're full. Like we can put your definite decks there. I'm gonna leave these both here, but I think this one may change. We could put this at top of 2 for now. I think is fair. All right, we'll go with that for now. All right, next up, Decidueye. Man, they just keep doing this deck so dirty. I think it's tier 3. I don't see it being better than that. I don't know.
Well, it's definitely better than Luke Battle.
This is probably tier 3, or if there was a tier 2.5, it would go there.
I think bottom of 2 may be possible. Okay. It's definitely top of 3, though, I think. I could say, do we think it's better than Luke Metal?
Yes.
I think so. I think that's fair. We can put it in this. I think if decks don't respect it, like Shadow Rider, if it's not playing stuff like Cresselia in it and they don't respect the card, I don't think Shadow Rider is going to play Phoebe. That's where the problem comes in. But again, it can just beat decks by going Night Watch, and yeah, it can just Night Watch things. And then eventually, if you leave a lone Decidueye in play, they're going to Night Watch until you have 0 in hand. And then if it's your only Pokemon in play, they're going to go Pale Moon and hope you don't top deck, essentially. So, the baby Shadow Rider already goes through Deci? Oh, yeah. Yeah,
the deck's awful.
My bad. Yeah, the baby one does 50 to 2, so never mind. It's bad.
Yeah.
All right, E-Turn. I know we're going to put Jake's opinion outside of this because Jake is biased, rather. But I think this deck is tier 1. I think this deck gets incredible.
Well, why are you taking my opinion out then?
Because I want to put it aside, because I know you would say it's tier 1 anyways, but I think this deck is tier 1. Obviously, Gallerium Multrace, for those of you guys who don't know, is the card that's going to help make this deck even better than it already is. I think even if Gallerium Multrace wasn't coming out, this deck would still be a tier 1 because, yeah, like, it just gains a good matchup in Shadow Rider. But Moltres allows you to now get rid of one of your main problems, which is energy disruption, because you can get an E-turn powered up in 1 turn now. And, yeah, it's, I think this deck is tier 1.
Moltres is exactly what the deck needed, because now you can just go much, much, much faster. Because now you can hit with Hoopa and then E-switch kills stuff, and you don't have to find energy turn 1 going first anymore.
Yep.
It's just...
And Crushing Hammer doesn't just beat the deck flat out anymore, which is good. So you don't get sacked by that. So,
I think your Pika matchup now becomes incredibly crazy. Like, it's not...
And Pika was already slightly favored.
Yeah, I think it's like 65-35 now, or better, to be honest. So, yeah, and I think this will also affect Pika as we get into that. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay, it's down there. I was just making sure it was on here. But next up, we have the Cake Rider, as I like to call this deck. I think this deck is... I think it's the worst variant of Calyx out of all the Shadow Rider Calyx variants. And because of that, I think tier 2 is probably where this deck is going to fall, but I think
it's the middle to top of tier 2. It's...
Yeah, I think right here as of these decks, right, like below Rapid Strike in my opinion.
I think that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I honestly... I really don't think the Rapid Strike and Tailline deck is going to work, but...
It's working in Japan, so I'm not sure. But yes,
okay.
It's the... Well, again... The reason I think it may be working in Japan is that Japan doesn't have Jirachi, so that's why it's weird. But
so every deck is just inherently more consistent. Like,
yeah, but essentially it's still winning is the thing, so the deck is not dead without Jirachi. It's still able to win tournaments pretty consistently. So that's why I have it here, is just because if it hadn't shown the results and there's just a new concept, I would be more skeptical, but... what about Zapdos? We could talk about Zapdos for E-turn when we get to the last deck over here. We'll go ahead and talk about that. Alright, next up is this Rapid Strike Toolbox deck, the Blaziken Vmax, Zeraora, and the Rapid Strike Urshifu. I haven't tested a lot of this. I've seen a few lists from people like Celio, Omnipoke, those kind of people. But right off the bat, this just screams clunkiness to me again when you're dealing with 7+ stage 1s, so...
Yeah, I don't know how this deck's gonna set up. Honestly, it's probably tier 3. Like, I do not know how... It's probably bottom tier 2 or top tier 3.
I think it's better than Luke Metal. It's kind of what we're...
Yes, everything's better than Luke Metal.
Yeah, I think this is fair. Again, if it gets set up, it has the nice type coverage, right? You have nice type coverage against things like EVP sometimes. Zeraora can obviously be pretty solid against things, and Urshifu can deal well-ish with the Eternatus, but also you have to set up, you have to get things in the discard pile, and that's kind of the problem I have with the deck right off the bat. Yeah, and next we have another bad deck, Mewtwo Welder.
Oh, no.
I think this deck... I think it's bottom of tier... I think the deck...
This deck is not better than Luke Metal.
I don't think it's better than T-Tar. I think T-Tar is better than this deck because this deck gets ruined by Path because it has to play Hearth. I think it's...
They can play Marshadow.
Yeah, I mean you can play Marshadow, but...
It's probably tier 3.
Yeah, we can order this after, but I think tier 3 is fair for this deck.
It's more consistent than T-Tar, honestly. I would put it above T-Tar. T-Tar is not a deck.
That's fine, yeah. Alright, next up we are finally starting with the Ice Rider Calyx variant, and because we're doing that, we're just going to move the other one over so we can just deal with both of these variants, and we'll deal with the Shadow Rider variants at the end, I think is what we'll do. Alright, next up. Alright, the first one is the Cinccino build, so I assume this is Cinccino with Frostmoth? Maybe not Frostmoth. I'm surprised Frostmoth isn't like its own variant on here. I'm gonna assume all these are like Melanie stuff, but I'm not sure. So.
Melanie busted with Rapidash. It's like fun.
Well, Melanie can't. Can Melanie put water energy? I don't think Melanie. No, because if you read Melanie, the card says you can only put onto water Pokemon. I have the card in my mind. Let me confirm this on my text. Let me confirm the text on this really quickly. Sorry, anyone on YouTube who's watching this, we're just going to confirm it. So Melanie says... Oh, no, it's Pokemon V. Never mind. It works. Yeah. So Melanie says attach a water energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon V, and then draw from it. So, yeah, it does work with Rapidash. That is a thing to note. It does work with Rapidash. Path to the Peak again. I don't think it's
I think
bad.
this deck is probably
but...
top of tier 2. Top
yeah,
of tier 2.
I think the only thing that's stopping it right now is ADP Zacian.
Yeah, so I think it does 220 for 2 energy, right? Or is it 240?
250. Yeah,
It's
250.
250, I think.
250.
That is so efficient that it's probably top of tier 2. Like, it's just such an efficient attack. ADPization is going to be big, but I don't think it's going to be the most played deck anymore. Like, it'll probably be like the second, third, maybe even fourth most played deck. So I think that the deck, if it can avoid that specific matchup, it's going to do pretty well.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And while we're on that, we have to look at the other variant too, which also plays Melanie, but it plays the Inteleon line. And I actually like the Inteleon line in this deck specifically because it gives you a consistent option to find Melanie, which decks like Welder struggled to consistently be able to find Welder out of the deck, right? Which is why I think Inteleon, the Drizzile provides usage. You could play one of those Inteleons and then 2 of the Ping Inteleons, and now all of a sudden you're hitting 270 damage onto a tag team to knock out a Reshizard, and if you Zigzagoon ping or you ping one more with the Inteleon, now you're taking 3 prizes in a one-hit knockout. And you can also just set up math later in the game. So, I mean, initially, I actually think the Inteleon version may be better than the Chinchino version.
This is another deck where I think Jirachi's probably better, but, like, Jirachi...
Do you think just, like, Jirachi is better with this, possibly?
Well, yeah, the deck's just probably going to be built like Teeny Vmax is built now.
Yeah, I agree with Jake. It's just going to be, like, turn 2, 250... every single game, straight consistency and best of 1. I think Victini has proven that when you build a deck like that, it is a tier 1 deck. So I think this deck is pretty strong. It's probably top of tier 2.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to build it that way, right? So there's 3 like main ways right off the bat to build this deck, right? You're talking about the traditional way with Jirachis. You've now also got this Inteleon way to build it in this. So I think we'll change out the Chinchino build for like a what am I doing? Chinchino build for like a regular style build. I think this build could be like bottom of 1.5, if that makes sense.
It can be 1.5, yeah.
And I would throw the other Inteleon version maybe in tier 2. I think it may just be.
I'd put a top tier 2 in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that seems fair. But I think people are sleeping on this deck. I think that they're scared of ADP Zacian, but I think its spread besides that is solid. You could also play things like, if you do play cards like the other variants to look at too is you leave yourself with 0 energy after, so you can play cards like what is it again? Oh, Cheryl. You can play cards like Cheryl in your deck too. So I think it honestly just depends on how you want to really approach the deck building, and there's just a lot of flexibility as well. So. All right, next up we have Gardevoir. I'm sorry to any Gardevoir fans in chat. This card is not the best. I don't think it's very good, unfortunately.
It's another 1 prizer, but it's stage 2.
It's a stage 2. It makes a cute tier 3 deck. I think it's better than Lycanroc. It's probably
I think it's right here. I think it's
just bad. Yeah.
I have to look up what Blissey
does. Is it better than Luke Metal?
It is better than Luke Metal, unfortunately. Blissey V. All right, what does it do? Okay, so whenever you attach an energy, you heal all special conditions, and then 10 plus 30 more for every energy attached to it. And if you did any damage, you get 3 more from your discard pile. So fighting weakness is the first thing that jumps out at me. I mean, you're doing more damage, but you're only hitting 100 for 1, and then 1. What? Wait, 40, 70, 100. You're hitting 190 after that. But, I mean, what happens when you did the knockout? I mean, it works with Cramorant. I mean, with Porygon Z, but isn't Cramorant V at that point just better? Like Vmax?
It's probably top of tier 3. Bottom. It's probably top to middle tier 3. I mean, it's going to be a fun deck, it's going to be probably paired with Porygon, it's going to make some good content for sure, but I don't really think it's that strong overall.
The question, though, is it better than Luke Metal?
It might be better than Luke Metal. Everything's better than Luke Metal, unless your name is Mew3. Well, Welder Mew3.
Well, that's that. And then next up, we have the new Malamar coming out.
This card isn't as bad as people think.
No, it's not. It's let me get the exact text on it.
So it does 40 times 40 for each Rapid Strike card in your hand, and you get to shuffle them back. Okay, this isn't horrible. Like, if you pair this with Shinshino or maybe Pidgeotto, and like a couple other things, you can actually make an interesting deck. I haven't tested it.
I think Octillery could be good. I think Octillery.
Yeah, so Octillery. This deck might be. It's definitely not low potential. It's probably top of tier 3.
Yeah, I mean this deck could actually have like potential. Yeah, and I think ADP obviously is like the problem, and hitting psychic weakness is still very good right now, especially when you don't have the high risk of being dark. I mean, you are dark weak, right? But you're not giving up much. The only thing, as you said, right, is consistently finding those cards. My main thoughts are, does Marnie just kill your hand? You may just not be able to draw into stuff consistently. But yeah, I think the fact that you're shuffling them back in is nice. I think this card would be really good if it just said times the amount of Rapid Strike cards in your hand. I think that would be really good.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest problem is, like, you can probably get the first attack off for like 200 plus, but I think it's just going to be like, can you consistently hit 200 plus per turn? And like, there's going to be games where you have to hit for like 340 at some point in the game, or you are going to lose the game. And with Stampin' Marnie still being so prevalent in the game right now, I don't know if this format is the time for it, but the card itself is strong.
Yeah, even Postro, right? That could be something to look into as well. That's a cool thing.
Stamp is gone.
So yeah, I would say don't keep your eye off of this. I think it could be like top of 3, but I don't think I see it as a tier 2 contender right now with all the hand disruption in the format. I think it's better than Blissey, though, to be honest. Does anyone agree with me there on that?
Yeah. I think the deck's not horrible, but it's gonna need a lot.
All right, next up we have Tornadus Vmax. I think this deck is very bad.
Put it right below Tyranitar.
Below Tyranitar? I would agree with that. Yeah, there's just better engines for single strike. There's better engines, and especially with Pikaram being a deck in the format too, it just doesn't make any sense to play this.
Yeah, I mean, 240 for 4 energy, and you discard the stadium. It's so bad. Like it is. Like it's gonna be the card that like you really do not want to pull from the set. You know, like, and you pull it.
Damn.
Well, it has the attack. It literally has Primal Censored attack.
Yeah. Yes. Primal Groudon. We can say it. It was all fake. Anyhow, next card up, Salaconda Vmax.
Salaconda? You mean
Sandaconda, whatever. It's better than Mewtwo, but I think it's worse than Blissey. This card is just okay. It's just not great.
What does it do?
60 for 1 and 20 to every bench mon. And then I think it does...
It does 180, and you get to move the energies.
Yeah, that's it. It's 180, and then it's Y Cyclone on Yveltal EX.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, it hits E-turn for weakness. You know, you compare it with like Cheryl, Scope. Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess the problem with the first attack is that it damages yourself. Right? Oh, wait, no.
No, it does 20 to bench mon. So
that's actually pretty good.
I mean, Colossal is a deck. I'm just gonna say it. Colossal exists. You could pair this with Colossal, and I mean, you're two-shotting things. I wouldn't count this deck out, man. I think someone can make this work.
It's probably top tier 3 right now. And then, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I would say maybe it's bottom of 2. I think this deck has potential, man. I think it's okay. I mean, being grass weak right now isn't horrible, but I don't know.
I mean, the problem is, how do you accelerate it consistently? So I would put it top of tier 3.
Yeah, I mean, you could Cheryl Colossal is my thought process.
Yeah, but that's requiring rare can't. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have this Single Strike Urshifu Vmax. This is like the Malamar of all Malamar decks. This thing does, if you have damage counters on it, you do 200 for 3 as a dark type, weak to grass, as a single strike mon. So it's not bad. It pairs very well with Houndoom's ability, but again, the main problem is if its deck draws hot, it definitely beats everything, because hitting 240, 260, at minimum you're hitting 220 on a 1-prize Pokemon is very good. But at the same time, what? Say that again?
I said, and you one-shot Shadow Rider, right?
Yeah, you one-shot Shadow Rider. But again, if you're not drawing well with this deck, then you're just gonna have nothing. And I think this deck can fold to Marnie, I think, really hard.
Doesn't it just go in between Tornadus and T-Tar?
I think it's better than these though, because I think unlike these other decks that it has, if it draws well, it can beat almost everything.
Well, the problem with it is you can't like consistently chain attack.
Yes, you're also only doing 100 damage. It doesn't have damage counters.
Well, the damage counters
Yes,
isn't a problem because
The
of
damage
how...
counters don't matter, but you are like you're accelerating single strike energies, so you have to play 4 urns in your double stage 1 non-V deck, which just feels really bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna
And
put
you're
it
not gonna be able-
above Blissey, I think, but I wouldn't do it anywhere more there. Maybe above Malamar, but that's kind of my.
It's
thought
okay.
process.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, that seems fair. That seems pretty on. That seems pretty fair. All right, here we go. Now we have Urshifu Moltrace. Jeez, man, this is a.
so you wrap it and then you energy
yeah,
switch.
you wrap it and energy switch off the Moltrace.
This deck is. I mean, I guess you can rapid flow out of nowhere, but I think there's gonna come points where it's just like Karate Belt is almost better in every single way, and it's just I don't know. I don't think it's that good.
I mean, you
like-
get to hit Shadow Rider for weakness, but that feels really bad because there's already other ways to hit
Shadow Rider for weakness. Wait, I mean, I guess you can eventually, but at that point, right? Like,
Yeah, but it's just
they could
it's a
just
lot of
like
pieces.
Night Watch it or something, or hit it
Well,
for a
yes,
lot of
they
damage.
can. It'll
That's
take
the
you 2
problem.
turns.
Yeah.
it's
This is an
probably
actual
a
deck.
better
You use the
tier 2
Moltrace to
deck.
beat Cali. I mean, you can, but by the time you're getting Moltrace powered up, you need what, minimum 2 turns to get it powered up.
You also look at the darks in the Discord.
Yeah,
It's
I
all-
mean, I think it could be okay. You can't
It's probably
consistently
bottom tier.
accelerate, I guess. I think it could be bottom of 2. I think it's better than Luke Metal at least, but
Anything with Urshifu and Moltres, it is better than Luke
yeah.
Metal.
All right. Next up, we got Victini. I think this deck is positioned really well. I think this deck is very solid. I think a little bit worse than before because of Cali, but I still think it's 1.5 maybe.
Definitely 1.5. It's still very low.
I think it could be. I think it's in the middle between these two, because like you don't
Well,
gain a
it's
bad
definitely not
matchup
better-
with Cali, because with Calyrex it's weird, right? You only hit the Trevnor for 100, and you can use Rapidash early. But the thing that just scares me is like, I guess it actually has a decent Calyrex matchup. I have to test it personally, but I think it's decent. I think it actually is above Ice Rider. I think it's very solid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely not above Urshifu.
Yeah, I mean, boss turn 2 for 220. Like it's a relatively consistent welder deck. Like the deck's fine. I mean, it's a tier 1.5 deck for now. I mean, I don't think it'll probably get up to tier 1. I think it'll probably stay in the 1.5 to 2 range.
Yeah, I think that the
But
one thing holding it back is the fact
Marnie
that
Nightwatch.
yeah, Marnie Nightwatch, and like I think it maybe gets better because at the end of the day, like I mean, there's no way a welder is drawing out a Marnie Path Peak Nightwatch. Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. Like Jake's talking about what I was thinking about. Like you rebuild Victini to be like what it was at one point, where you play Research and other cards like that. To have more outs to draw out of it. So I think if you tech in cards for Calyrex that are just more consistency, I think this deck could have a good Calyrex matchup. But again, I have to test it. So for now, I think 1.5 is fair. Having a solid matchup spread against this, and Calyrex seems fun.
1.5 is fine. Like E-turn is like slightly favored, I think, especially with Moltres now, because even if they dash you, you can just E-switch the energy and then attach to a new E-turn. And then they can't kill you.
All right, hopefully
then with
76.
4 Zig.
Yeah. You get bodied otherwise.
Like you can, or with 4 Zigs, you just play the matchup to where you can always one-shot whatever's in the active.
Yeah, that seems fair to me. I agree with that. All right, next up. I don't know if 76ers is here, but he's definitely going to hate us. Mewtwo and Mew with the Rillaboom. 76ers is base, throwing down tier 1. I think Path hurts this deck a lot. I think
It's a Mewtwo deck, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Mewtwo deck. What I found with playing this deck is just if you're using a lone Rowlet and a Rowlet Executor, it's just this deck feels handicapped. 150 right now is just a bad number. You're reshotting a lot of things that are Vmaxes.
I mean,
and just like
you do have Swell.
Yeah, okay, so Swell exists. You generally have a decent draw option out of something like Marnie Nightwatch because you have the Rillaboom already set up to accelerate energy.
Also Cricketune.
No, Cricketune is Path of the Peak.
Well,
Well, yeah.
That's why you play double swell instead of 1 Wonder 11.
Yeah, you could play that too, but
it's probably tier 2.
I think it's 2. I don't think it's 1.5, but I think it's above. I think it's right here, maybe.
I agree with that. Oh yeah, perfect. Yeah,
I would say I could even put it above Cake, just because this deck is more consistent.
We don't know enough yet of it.
Yeah, that's why I think because it's unknown, I'm gonna put it right here. Sorry, 76ers, but this seems
Luke Metal.
Luke Metal at this rate's gonna get bumped down to tier 3.
Luke Metal sucks.
Luke Metal is like maybe top of tier 3, bottom of tier 2. It's not great. All right, ADP. Right off the bat, I think this is tier 1.5. To be honest, I think this deck is. I think this deck is solid. I think it's naturally just ahead of Victini for the sole purpose that this deck can just beat everything if it does the nuts, essentially.
Urshifu as well. I mean, like, Urshi's, like, fine, but ADP is ADP. Like...
Yeah, and additionally, you also get the Horn, which is really nice as well. It's a nice inclusion. And, yeah, I think you also don't gain the worst matchups in Cali. I don't think it's, like, some crazy archetype that's going to hurt you. I think you now have to play,
not very good.
Yeah, I think that Path is hurting, and I think that you now have to play more Swell in your deck, but I think it's something you can adapt to, right, and you can play around.
Well, yeah, but you're all... like, Cali just feels pretty bad, because you already lose to Jit2 in this format, right?
With Cali?
And it's
but that's not a deck right now.
It isn't.
With Cali, you're saying?
No, with ADP.
Oh, yeah. But I think besides that, though, again, it can just squeak out matchups. I think E-Turn is unfavored. I think Rapid Strike Urshifu can be unfavored. I think Victini is close. So it just has a lot of really close matchups. And, I mean, it's ADP. I think for that sole reason, putting it in 1.5 is fair. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems pretty fair. Now we're up to Dragapult, excuse me. I think this deck goes down to, like, bottom of 2, maybe top of 3, because E-Turn just gets that much better.
Well, Dragapult also loses to every Vmax.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think top of tier 3 makes sense for this.
Except for Urshifu.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, he can beat Urshifu.
I think Mewtwo and Mew is maybe above Luke Metal, but I think it's
it's better than Luke Metal. It's better than Luke Metal because
I think it's better than Luke Metal, but I think it's not great. I think Path hurts this deck a lot. I think if the people just saying play Swell, now you have to play Swell and Marshadow in your deck too. It just doesn't feel great.
The deck itself, like a deck like already wasn't very good to begin with, and this just makes it even worse. Like Path is going to be so prevalent that like an already like tier 2 2.5 deck add on Path, I honestly would put a top of tier 3 or bottom of tier 2. So yeah, I think it's fine, but
it's better than Luke Metal.
It's better than Luke Metal.
All right, next up we have the same Blaziken VMAX Zeraora deck. This time it's playing a more consistent engine. It's not throwing in another stage 1, and I don't know where to put this though, because matchup spread is better with this deck, but it's more consistent, so I don't know which one I value more.
I think it's like top of tier 2. It's like fine.
I think it's top tier 2 too. Yeah, I mean the Simeon is so good in this deck. Just being able to spread. I think that Mew is going to be a problem for this deck, but I think the deck itself is pretty strong. Energy acceleration is always broken in Pokemon. Yeah, it's probably top of tier 2.
I like this placement right
without
here.
Mew,
I think, I agree with that. Yeah, without Mew, it's just you hit a lot with Mew. You punish players for not playing Mew in their deck. And
but without Mew, you hit max 130.
That's the problem, right? Is you hit what 100 to the active.
It almost feels like a slightly worse Urshifu in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's why I'm putting it right below the Urshifu variants. So.
Well, Urshifu is kind of like a checkmate deck, and this one just wants to snipe stuff on the bench randomly. It doesn't like set up specific numbers to win the game.
Yeah, I agree. Chat is telling us to put Luke Metal in tier 3. I actually agree with them. I don't know.
But yes, everything's better than Luke Metal.
All right, top of tier 3. Chat decided. It's top of tier 3. All right, next up, Blastoise Vmax.
Why is this even on here?
Ask Mr. Network. He's the one who.
I think that we put it below Lycanroc.
I think it's better than Lycanroc. I think it's better than Gardevoir. I think it can do.
Yeah,
things.
It is. I think
it's still
also
bad potential though. I think it's better than.
I think it's also better than probably Tornadus. Tornadus should not be tier 3. That deck should literally be in lower potential. Like I do not know why it's there. That deck is literally a
We'll
theme deck.
put it right here. That deck is a theme deck. All right, I agree with that. All right, that seems fair. We'll keep it going along. Next up is Pikaram. So I'd say this deck is on the bubble between 1 and 1.5 before the set. But I think this deck goes down a little bit, I think, after. I think maybe 1.5.
I think it's bottom 1.5 to 2.
I would even put it right here.
Yeah, that seems fine.
I think it's better than Victini. I also think it's better than Ice Rider. I don't think it's better than ADP, though. I mean, Path obviously hurts it, sure, but the deck is just going to go up to 2 Swell, which, you know, like, makes the Victini matchup better, makes all your fire matchups even better. It's probably... It's the tier 1.5 deck, yeah.
Yeah, I think being in the middle is fine. I think
done.
these three are close, though. Yeah.
I think it's close, yeah. But, you know, Crushing Hammer, Reset Snap, and Tandem Shock will always make the deck somewhat playable.
I agree. Yeah, I think these three are give or take, like, interchangeable. I think all three of these are very similar, but they just have different matchup spread. So, that's why I agree with that. Next up, we have, well, there's
Is this going to be Firebox?
I'm trying to decide what this is.
So, I think that we should just do this as like a fire.
Cephalon.
Yeah, this will be the Tempozard Fire Toolbox style deck.
Okay, that's fine.
I think this deck gets hurt a lot by Path. I think the deck already asks for a lot to do well. I think it's tier 2 now after this, rather than maybe being in like the bubble 1.5 high 2 before.
This could be Green's Reshi. This could be Green's Zard.
This could be just Greenzard, actually. That's probably correct. I think this deck gets. I think this deck gets a cool tool in Path, but I think it gets hurt really badly by Marnie Nightwatch.
Yeah.
It loses to Marnie Nightwatch and anything that can one-shot it.
So it's probably...
I would say right here, maybe. I think seems fair, but I just don't see it being better.
It's
than
definitely better than tier 2, but any deck's better than that.
Yeah, I don't think... Celio made Reshi Greenzard. Oh, Reshi Green's Reshi. Oh, yeah. Okay, then awesome. That's perfect. All right, here we go. Cephalon. The
Marnie Nightwatch Path to the Peak game. Tennessee. This deck sucks.
I think this deck is below Greenzard. I think it's maybe bottom, like right here, maybe.
It's better than Loop Metal.
This deck.
No,
it's right here. Yeah, right here seems good. Right here seems good.
This deck literally gets ruined by, like, E-Turn, Pika, struggles to Urshifu, and gets destroyed by Path to the Peak. Like, the deck is just not very good anymore.
Yeah, the problem is you have to commit an extra slot to Marshadow, and a lot of times you need those open bench slots.
Yes. Yeah.
I do think Marshadow is good in this. I think Marshadow can get you out of situations, but I don't know. I think Marshadow could make this deck better than Jit 2. I'm not sure.
All we know is it's better than Luke Metal, so it's tier 2.
I honestly don't even know second you should be tier 2.
Yeah, I'm not certain. I think this deck is... We'll put it here for now. Alright, Spiritomb. This deck has been struggling between 2 and 3 during this set. I think it could actually get a lot better now, to be honest.
Munchlax thinks it's probably broken. I mean, it's probably okay. I mean, I don't... It's probably tier 2. It's
I think
like
2 is fair. 2. I think it struggles against Urshifu. I think it could struggle against...
ADP.
I definitely think it struggles against ADP.
It struggles to E-Turn. It loses to... It struggles to Urshifu. It struggles to Marnie Nightwatch. It struggles to itself.
I think putting it, like, right here seems fair, but I don't know.
I think it's better than the bottom 3 decks in tier 2. Yeah, that's probably fine.
Yeah, I think watch out for this deck. I think it could be a surprise bet. I think it can get to be like a surprise pick, but I don't see it being much better than that. All right, here's where the hot takes begin. Excadrill Control.
2.
I think this deck is. I think it's tier 2. I think Marnie Nightwatch is really scary. I don't like it, but I think it has good matchups in everything else in 1.5, except for.
Not Pika.
Well,
I don't think it beats Pika.
I think it could be Pika. It has in the past. It's beat Pika. Handlock?
Well,
this is Handlock we're talking
problem
about.
Is itself.
You get Horn now. Okay, that's totally fair. Okay, yeah. So I'm so
Handlock with Horn is very good, in my opinion.
You also get Path to the Peak.
Yes.
So it's probably tier like, it's probably mid to top of tier 2.
I think so. I think it's better than Blaziken. So. I think this deck. I think
the
this
deck
deck
just it's so inconsistent. That's its problem. It's just really inconsistent.
I think when this deck rolls, it can beat Urshifu, E-Turn, ADP, Pika, Victini, and Cali, but I don't think it beats the Psychic Cali decks. That's the problem. Oh, and you get the prize switching card too. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. You can take 50/50s on your prizes. I think players will get rewarded for playing this deck, and I think building it for this next format is actually going to be a solid choice. So I'm going to put it right here. I think this deck is pretty solid. So anyone disagree? However, you do lose to Inteleon though. Anything that plays Inteleon in it, you lose to.
Lose to Shadow Rider just by completely.
Well, it's not an auto loss to Shadow Rider. You auto lose to this deck though, because they set up 2 Inteleons and then you just lose the game. Because they'll just ping things every turn and just start draw passing after pinging something. So that's the only concern. So that's where I'm gonna put it for there. Next up is Inteleon. A lot of people have been hyping this deck up. E-Turn's tier 1 with Avery and Path. I think it's still good. Jake, can you explain how Avery and Path doesn't hurt that deck?
People aren't playing Avery. You have outs to Path versus a lot of Vmax decks. You're still 2-shotting, and the tag team decks, you're already 1-shotting the tag teams. Moltres makes the deck insane because Zapdos, or it's literally a Zapdos counter, because you can just put it on your bench and accelerate to it, and then just go, after they kill your E-Turn, go Zigping, kill Zapdos with Moltres, and Zapdos can't one-shot Moltres. So most decks, and a lot of the time, they just can't respond to killing Moltres. You usually just win after that. But Path to the Peak just doesn't affect the deck very much, because look at what decks are playing Path.
It's just Cali decks and sometimes Shadow Rider, or Ice Rider is the only concerning thing, but I think Inteleon, I think it's going to be really tech dependent, because I think if people start respecting E-Turn, then it can get scary, right, with all the techs people are playing. But I think for now, right, drawing 3 cards, playing Hop and discarding your opponent's bench doesn't feel great in every other matchup is the problem. So. Alright.
Probably middle, top of tier 2.
Yeah, I think this deck is okay. I think Peak is still really scary, but I think it gains decent matchups and other things, right? You now get Melanie, which I think helps this deck out, because you can now commit to not having to play Frostmoth in your deck too. So, I think it's maybe right. What do we think?
I think it's right below Extra Drill.
Right here. I think that's fair.
I think that's fine.
I'm gonna move Grass Mewtwo
seems
here.
fine. It just always has some problem.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So Pika still exists, and the deck just dies to that. So.
Yeah. I forgot Muck Control. I think Muck Control loses to Shadow Rider. I think it loses to the Inteleon builds. I don't think Muck is bad. It's just not on this list. So, all right, these last 2 decks I think are both tier 1. To be honest,
decks are ridiculous. Like both of them are so strong in so many ways. I'm
gonna order it like this, in my opinion.
I agree. I almost
put Urshifu at the bottom of tier 1 as well. I think it just should be beating almost everything below it.
Yeah, I think that.
Does it beat Victini? I haven't seen it beat Victini though.
It should beat Victini.
That's it.
At least I think. I don't know. I haven't tested the matchup very much since Pony's been released.
I think it's bad with Pony. I think it's bad with Pony, because then they just start chasing your things with energy on it. I don't know.
I think the Calyraxers are going to be so prevalent that I wouldn't put it at tier 1. I think it's a tier 1.5 deck, but the problem is I think that both the Shadow Riders are going to kind of run the game for the next couple months. They're so broken.
Yeah, especially with Trevenant and Dusknoir, it's what makes it so scary.
Yeah, and yeah, I would say that the Mewtwo version is basically Jitsu, but actually good, because you can accelerate. You have Zap for E-Turn. You basically you have outs to everything, and your deck is also consistent because you're drawing cards. With the Calyrax. Yeah, it's just a consistent deck with outs to everything.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think if you're really scared of E-Turn, just play 2 Zapdos, and you can even play Fighting an Aurora in your deck too. Especially with the what's the new card that came out? There's a card that comes out that's just Rod on steroids, that instead of shuffling into your deck, it just does it to your hand. And this deck again doesn't need to play draw supporters every turn. You can take a turn off, just guarantee yourself a knockout on an E-Turn. So That's
Yeah,
the thought process.
Like Mewtwo has been around for the past couple years. This is going to be the very last format, and it has every option in the world and every support for it. It's like this deck is going to be a problem.
It have cool ability.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's solid. Well, that's all our decks. Do we agree with this? Do we like where this is set in stone? Do we want to change anything around before we end this?
I still think Urshi's pretty good, but the meta has to evolve for it.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. All right, awesome. This is our finalized tier list, everyone. So, over you guys on YouTube, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe. Leave a like. Comment down below what decks you agree with, what takes you think we're not correct on, that you think we're bugging out on. And make sure you guys check out the other content, and we'll see you guys very soon. Take care, everyone, and have yourselves a nice day. Peace out.